and it's been very delightful to be able to be recognized by all these different bands that I've worked with over the years. But I've
Definitely.
got like I got mountains of this shit, and it's just kind of fun to go through because you pull that one up and you go like in the little corner over here. You know,
Mm.
there's I got in the
Wow.
corner one feeding the dogs in the morning. It's like okay, you know,
Wow.
there's In Excess. That was a great tour. What's the other one? Aerosmith, Journey,
Wow.
Rush. Yeah, it's all
That
good, man.
there's some
It's all good.
history there. There's some history there. I was reading about you, and I mean, you told me a little bit of your story, and I was reading about you as well. And wow, what a career you've had. I mean,
Well,
you've been
if you live this long, you're gonna rack up some rack up some successes. There's a lot of failure in there too.
right on. So, John, I'm gonna basically, this is just a free flow conversation. I'm gonna ask you
Yep,
about your early,
yep.
your upbringing, where you born, how was family life, where did you go to
Hmm.
school, and then eventually get to, when you got, your career started basically as event production, live event
Hmm.
production in '79, and chairman at the California State University, and obviously everything just unveiled from that point
Yeah.
onwards for you.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, it actually started before that. When as a kid, I was always selling stuff, and then it segued into throwing parties in high school. So yeah, I'll follow your flow and just be honest about it.
Amazing, fantastic. Let me just get the play going here, and we're on. Hey, John, good to see you, my friend.
Carl, my man, nice to see you again as well. I think the last time I saw you was in London, was it not?
It was in London. Oh my God, and what a day! What a day! We're not gonna touch into that now, but what an evening that was! Wow, Guns
Yeah.
N' Roses, Motley Crue, well, all in the same evening. One of those that,
Well, and the Taipei Houston fellas too. That was a fun gig too. It's good to see you know that age, and those kids having grown up in the business, just really good attitudes, no arrogance, hardworking. You know, just really giving it 110%. I like those two kids.
that's where we met, actually, wasn't it? Was May last year at the very first Foo Fighters show with Josh Freese behind the drum kit,
Correct. That
and
was in Lake Winnipesaukee.
New
Was it New
Hampshire,
Hampshire?
Guilford.
New Hampshire, yeah,
Yeah, New
yeah,
Hampshire,
that's
Guilford.
right, Guilford, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I met you guys. We met in catering.
that's right. That's right. And what a catering that was! I remember clearly. I remember them, Miles and Lane, like being absolutely stoked. Like it was so good.
Well, they call that place Roadie Camp. I don't know if you saw around the corner. There's a swimming pool and like a miniature golf, and
I didn't
you
see
know
that.
those promoters who I'm not really familiar with them. They have done a really great job in creating, because it's like a 7,500 seat venue, and to get a band like the Foos and some of the artists that they get going through there, they have to create an aura and a vibe and a like it becomes legendary. Like, oh gosh, they take such good care of it. You got to go to that gig, and they're really good-hearted people. I think it's the husband and wife team that do it, and they were just genuinely the kind of people that you want to root for them to be successful.
Yeah, so much care. I remember they had like those PJs embroidered Foo
Yeah, I
Fighters.
got them. I gave them to my wife. She
Yeah,
loved them. Yeah, that's
fantastic.
good swag, like flannel pajamas. That was nice swag.
Yeah, nice swag indeed. Nice swag indeed.
And who really kind of set the tone for that kind of this goes back to my early career, and I'm probably getting out of order here for you, but there's a promoter, very famous promoter on the West Coast named Bill Graham. West Coast, East Coast. He did the Fillmore East, and he did Winterland and the Fillmore in San Francisco, and he did, his whole thing was he would be at the front door handing out apples, making sure that people were taken care of. He was just, he was very visible. He was a tough guy. He was a survivor. Literally, he was an Auschwitz survivor, not Auschwitz, the Holocaust. He escaped when he was a young boy, but he came to America and made himself. And he was the first real promoter, I think, that actually did like a world tour. I remember he did the Stones back in the '80s or late 70s, where he was the promoter and he took it to all the different promoters. Yeah, but it's because of his care. His backstage was always very much like reminiscent of what we just talked about in New Hampshire. And I was fortunate enough to have a kind of a brief passing of my career through that Bill Graham called BGP in San Francisco, who was bought by Live Nation. But I learned a lot from that whole vibe that it comes from the top down, right,
Mm-hmm.
Carl?
Yeah.
So he had that vibe, and everyone, they were all tough people, and some of them are still in the business, but they're all really, they made you feel welcome. And when you're in the circus and you go to a different town every day, it's nice to have some familiarity and to have that kind of like familiar faces and just a little bitty touches like the pajamas. That's something that Bill Graham would have done.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember clearly, like that was an absolute highlight. That gig was just one of those very special settings. All of it, like obviously the performance and the emotions behind the scenes because of the comeback of the
Right.
Foos and everything that was surrounding that particular gig. Being there was just one of those historical moments that, I mean, it's just yeah. I feel very blessed and happy to have shared that moment.
Yeah.
Which
One of those fly on the wall moments where you're like wow, what a lucky life I have, right? To see all this. And I've been with the Foos organization for a really long time, so that was very emotional. That was very emotional. It was a high high and a low low all at once.
hmm
So
yeah.
it's pretty cool some of the things we get to be like kind of standby observers of.
hmm
I've been that my whole career. Even when I was a kid. I would see that kind of stuff with my father was involved. He wasn't in the entertainment business, but he was in the golf business. So I would kind of see that on the golf course with celebrities or people that I knew were really famous, but you know, uh, just those fly on the wall moments. Like my dad playing golf with Joe Namath, like the time that he won the Super Bowl, right? He was a brash NFL quarterback and said, "We're going to beat the Colts and we're going to blow them out." And everyone said they don't have a chance, and they win. And my dad's playing golf with him a month later. It's just weird. It's
That's
cool.
I mean that's really cool. I mean I'm glad that you brought the subject of your family, because I'd love to hear from you. Well, first of all, well, great intro, and welcome to the roller coaster.
Yeah,
um, I'd
roller
love to.
coaster is a good name, Carl.
Thank you. Yeah, it seemed to be working fine. Yeah, people tend to, give a nice compliment about the number because again, I mean, life is a bit of a roller coaster in every level, isn't it? Professional,
Yeah,
on a personal level, we are seeking and trying to obviously find that very precious word, which is balance on everything that we do. But it's a constant battle. There's no you never arrive anywhere. I don't believe we ever arrive somewhere. And it's not that one day you're
no,
gonna achieve something that will make you happy. It's about the journey. It's about the relations that you have. It's about what you give to the world. It's about how you connect yourself. How do you see um, things that are beyond perhaps the perception and the physical realm of which we inhabit. So yeah.
yeah. My wife had she kind of summed it up in words that much better than me. She's led a completely different life. She's a school teacher, right? And so I'm doing what I do, and she comes along with me whenever she can. She's retired now, but she said to me one time, she goes, it's really not about stuff, it's about experiences. So between the two of us, we have four kids, and we really focus on not buying them stuff, like it's about experiences. Like we try to make it like this New Year's Eve. I've got an experience where I have to go to a show, and it's with a band that's been I've been friends with since the '80s, and so my family's going to come down. And I was talking to one of the artists yesterday, and he's like, "Hey man, looking forward to seeing you, and we're going to spend New Year's Eve." It's just one of those random things that kind of comes into my life. And I go, oh well, you know what? I actually have to go to that show, but it's New Year's Eve. It's a holiday. We'll spend time with family. Let's take the family down there. Oh, maybe I'll go golfing, or I'll get Tommy to go golfing, or Nikki to do something. And it's just like wow. It's just what you say. It's not about stuff, right?
Not about
I got a
stuff.
lot of stuff. Don't be wrong. I got a lot of stuff too,
Yeah,
man.
I will definitely ask you about that because I'm a big music memorabilia collector. I collect everything like passes, T-shirts, the PJs,
Oh man.
like records. I mean, I have like a huge vinyl collection, and I
Yeah.
mean, I love that kind of stuff. So and every time that I feel like, oh, I've got too much stuff, like you said, you've got a lot of stuff in storage. I start to, I mean, everyone is different, but like I personally, obviously, we all want good things for ourselves and for our families. Like, you know, you want to have a house, you want to have a car or a second car or whatever. The basics that you need to,
Yeah.
you know. But I see it sometimes in people that they need too much of everything. They have a house, now they need five houses. They have a, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they never actually find happiness outside of the process of acquiring things, which is good. Everybody feels good when you
Well,
go shopping, right?
well, yeah. I mean, it's just a different kind of fix. You know, I'm a recovered addict, and I would fix with substances and alcohol, and then when I got out of that, I started fixing with food, and I put on a bunch of weight and was miserable. So I fixed that, right? And then it was like what I found is with the experiences and with the family, and trying to you know it's kind of like I'm kind of like a ball rolling down a hill. I gather a lot of dust behind me, right? I've got friends in I mean, when I say friends, I mean really close friends. Like my circle of friends are my friends from college that I was roommates with, and those were the guys that went to school and did the right things and got the degrees and became engineers and lawyers and accountants. And I'm the guy that like dropped out, and but we're all of our kids have grown up together. We live in different places, but we always make a point to get together 3 or 4 times a year. Those experiences are so important. But what happens with that is like I found with myself, like I have way I have a lot of stuff, but we use it. We use the stuff for experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a few houses in different places, and we always give them to people to use or make sure people are welcome, or we don't have to be there. And it just feels so good to be able to be in a position to be generous. Because look, I've been broke, man. I've been stone cold fucking broke. And you're still the same person, but not broke is better. You can experience life, but you can also share. For me, it's all about really lifting people up because I've had such good fortune with regards to my hard work has paid off. A lot of people work really hard and it doesn't quite pay off, or you're an entrepreneur and you fail. Like I failed. I've been bankrupt before. I've been there, seen that, done that. I think it just makes you, it's that roller coaster, Carl, like you talked about. It makes you a better person. It makes you different experiences. It doesn't, when we talk about experiences, it doesn't always have to be great experiences. I am the sum total of the shit I went through and the good stuff that I learned along the way and really good family. So, you know, I'm sure I've hijacked your thing as I usually do.
No, I
So
love
I'll
it.
shut up.
No, I love
You
it.
can
I
guide
love it.
me a little
I
bit.
love it. I love it. I mean, I have like so many questions about everything really that is so important actually to act to, to hear about how you've just mentioned that you've been had trouble with substances in the past. You've been broken, bankrupt, but now you've got a beautiful family with kids, as you mentioned. You've got stuff like you've mentioned. You give things. You have long-term friendships and people that you can take your family with. It's work, but it's a holiday. All of those things, they don't come. People don't comprehend that those things don't just happen. You kind of have to
Yeah.
work somehow. Not only work as business, as making money for things, but as a person. And if you could just try and tell us a little bit about how was your journey, because you've mentioned very important, and looking at the whole picture, we can jump straight into obviously spending New Year's Eve now in a big show with your family, with the artists and all that. But there is a long journey to be where you are
Right.
at now, and I think that's really important. It is really important for me as a
Mhm.
person. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about all those things. But I think for people that listen to the podcast to hear about your life, your experience, the business that you've been involved, the business that you have started, the people that you've connected, your journey as a professional, but also about the things that you've just mentioned, the ups and downs, and the downs can be really, really low, can't they?
Yeah, I think when you if we got to look back and if you like measure success, I mean it's what I may see when I'm looking at someone else, or someone might see when they're looking at me, right? It's really about building. I've been built. but I've been rebuilt a few times too, right? So I kind of started out, I was the class clown in school. I had ADD, ADH, and I had a quick wit, and I was the kid that was always sitting in the hallway because I couldn't focus, right? And it was, and I made up for my own insecurities by humor and having a lot of friends, but I struggled in school. I didn't have like any learning disabilities. I think I just got bored really easy, like really fast, right? So I had to have a lot of incoming input. So sitting down doing math problems for me was pretty easy, but then as math progressed and I got older, I remember I flunked algebra 3 times in high school. And when I was a senior in high school, and this is the salesman in me, when I was a senior in high school, I went to Mr. Gardella at Reno High School. I said, "Look, Mr. Gardella, I am not going to graduate. I'm going to be here taking this math class again. I just don't get it." And he says, "Well, you have to get it." And I said, "Look, I'm going to be a salesman. I know how to add, multiply, subtract, divide. I can do percentages." And I go, "That's all I need. And if this kind of stuff with letters and parentheses and a math problem becomes an issue for me, I'll hire someone that's really good at that to take care of that. You got to give me a C, and I got to get the fuck out of here because I'm not going to get this." And he gave me a C, and I got out. you know, and guess what? I haven't used algebra, but I've had engineers that work with me and for me that we do that kind of stuff. So, I was raised in a family that was, my mother and father were both, remarkable, greatest generation from America people. They were born in the early 20s, like 1920, 1922. My father was a lieutenant in the U.S. Army Air Corps. My mom was a nurse. My mom was remarkable. My father was remarkable. I remember asking my mom, that generation didn't really talk about the war. They just went and did it. They saw horrible things. They came back. There wasn't the kind of media like there is now where everybody knows everything about everybody. They just kind of kept their mouths shut and went about and rebuilt the world, right? And so I got a call one day, and I knew my mom had been through some pretty, hard stuff. But she was a very kind, sweet woman from Arkansas and Kentucky. And I said to her, "How in the hell did you get in the war?" And she said, "Well, me and my friend Virginia, her friend Virginia, and my mother's passed away. Virginia's on her way. She's 104 now. Well, my mom said to me, and this is like I'm a 18, 19-year-old kid, and she looked at me and she said, "Well, Virginia and I, we graduated nursing school, and we were walking out, and we saw on the bulletin board a flyer that said, 'We need nurses.' And so we joined the U.S. Army Air Corps right there." I go, "You did? What'd you do that for?" And she looked at me with complete indignation and said, "Johnny, our country needed our help." And that kind of was like what I was brought up with, to do the right thing, to try to understand and take care of people and do things. And where it really